Okay, so your boy was muted as he went through the opening spiel. Shouldn't make that mistake again. But welcome welcome back after a brief break for the Christmas and New Year's holiday as LSR returns here to Styria for round 9 in this season. So apologies, getting set up the last bit of the way and cleared everything the wrong way. But looking to get started here on one of the shortest circuits on the calendar here in Austria. So it should be a good one. Very, very tight race as well. So it's certainly going to be interesting to watch. A couple big names out of the picture as well. Of course, B-Tom, the championship leader, not in the picture, so gives drivers like Lurka an opportunity to pick up some very good points. So let's see what happens. And of course, Tristan, Group 2 driver, going to be getting us underway with the first lap of the session. Quality, of course, going to be very tight around this circuit. Lap's going to take only about, a little bit over 60 seconds. Of course, turn 1, very easy to go a little bit wide, get track limits. Really got to open up what is actually turn 3 here. So those corner on the circuit, big hairpin, big braking zone there. Of course, really important to get that right and expect a lot of chaos there, potentially, on the opening lap. Of course, down blasting into turn 4, where Lewis Hamilton and I believe it was Alex Albon got connected a few years ago now. And, of course, blast down into this much more tricky to overtake back half of the circuit through double left-hander. I believe that's 6 and 7. A little bit of a wiggle there from the Williams. He gets his way through 8 and that kink of 9. Up over the hill, 10 and 11, the final 2 corners of this circuit. And just like that, back to the beginning, and Tristan going to invalidate at those final corners. Cross the line for what would have been a 103.4. So very fast lap there to get us kicked off. Let's see from other drivers if anybody else can get an early lap in. BXT going to be the next one to get a lap on the board. Does have a little bit of traffic up ahead with the Williams and the McLaren. 15.9 through that first sector, and a big rear lock for the Mercedes, trying to get up on that curbing, and around he goes. Perhaps picking up a little bit of dirty air as well, just not quite getting that braking point correct. And around that that Mercedes goes. There's our 18th driver in Crazy Riatudo. So certainly good to have another driver joining the fray. Anthrax Robin now powering up the hill towards turn number 3. A little bit less aggressive on the way in. Still a bit of a lockup, though, on the Alpine, but getting the power down very nicely. Of course, less traffic for him, less dirty air to be concerned about. Of course, blasting down the hill here at turn number 4. Pretty well under control is the Alpine. Of course, the lap's gonna fly by as Owen checking in. But the lap's going to fly by here. What did I get wrong? Apologies, apparently we're having a red flag here? What did I get wrong? Is ABS off? Oh, I guess I did turn ABS off. Whoops, shit. Alright, apologies there. Red flag to anybody listening. So that's why there was that spin there. Alright, so we're going to have a brief pause of the stream here. But yeah, red flag to anybody joining. I did a whoopsie. Luckily, the race should be fast, so apologies there. Alright, apologies everybody for the brief delay in the stream. We're looking to get back going. But we are getting back underway. Apologies, we did have a settings issue there. But now we're getting back underway. If you'll give me a moment, just so that way I can. But now we should be loading in. Now the settings are correct. I went ahead and double-checked them before we went back live. And yes, now everything should be good. Kendrick's opened up a beer to offset the time. Yeah, so obviously a bit more delayed. But it should be finally loaded up and ready. And it'll be 18 drivers loading up this time. With hopefully Mango and B-Tom on the way. Already got a little bit of a look into the race, and luckily it's also a fairly short race time. Of course, 30. Of course, the distance is generally the same at every circuit, but safety cars will luckily be pretty quick. The racing's pretty tight, and so should get underway fairly comfortably. Now, of course, got a couple of cars making their way out, and once again, does look like it'll be Shruz getting us underway first. Zroski getting underway as well. And it is going to be the Group 2 drivers contenders reserving up here in Group 1, getting us started with another lap. But again, we are back, trying to get back going, and we are fully good to go this time. But again, apologies for that. But yeah, benchmark, I believe, 104.2 is that mark that we're going to be chasing in this one. So we'll see how everybody lines up. Of course, a couple drivers getting an extra lap in there. Of course, it is getting rather late for some of our compatriots out in Europe. But now should be comfortably getting underway here. Mango looking for an invite, so should be getting at least one more in here. Hopefully a second if we can get one Mr. B-Tom. Of course, your driver's standings leader. As you can see, Tristan there starting to get ready to get underway. And he will get underway. So, starting his second first push lap. You can see Zroski heading down to turn 1 as well. Track not very busy at the moment, but it's a little bit finicky there for Tristan through turn 1. You can see chasing that rear end a little bit. Of course, blasting up now into turn number 3. Of course, no lap data on that one, so we should have turned that back on. But, of course, will be a purple Sector 1 regardless, as Tristan going to be the first one to set a comfortable lap time on the board. Again, Zroski, you can see there in the background, Tristan really opening up that corner, really attacking that inside curb as well. Yellow flag's a bit further on the circuit, as I believe that is BXT getting ready to start what will be the third push lap of this session. So up the hill we go, 44.2 for Tristan. It's a 44.7 for Zroski. So Zroski not a very comfortable first lap. It's Tristan up over the hill through the final 2 corners. No traffic in sight. Keeps it within the track limits this time, and across the line. It's a 103.7 for Tristan will be the bar that everybody will be chasing. It's a 104.397 for Zroski as Anthrax Robin has left the session. So be sure to try to get him back in, as hopefully that's not a permanent disconnect, at least in terms of filling up the lobby, as there is Robin re-invited. But 2 lap times on the board. We'll jump to BXT as he's making his way, I believe, through the final corners now. 44.3 through the first 2 sectors, and there is X-Mango 12. Of course, trying to put together a bit of a flu game here. BXT to the line, 103.845 is all it is. So only good enough for second for the moment. But still a decent time there. I believe it's Lurka diving. Or no, that wasn't Lurka. That was Tristan diving in the pits. Vanzantino across the line. He's got a 104.1 on the board. Zrosky looking to go again, so maybe carrying a little bit extra fuel. It's McLaren teammate coming to the line. That's Etto. Apologies. With the 103.719. Fight me now, bot now. 103.427. And Fight Me Now bot will head to the top of the order. Of course, winner in Monza. Spinala King to the line. He's just getting a lap started. Anthrax Robin has been able to rejoin, so hopefully we'll be able to take back control without issues. So a 51.3 on his first go of things. Through 2 sectors, but that, of course, is invalidated. Spinala King 15.8 through Sector 1, so a little bit slower from the Racing Bulls, up to 19 drivers now, of course, and got Sparko as well. Deputized in for Red Bull with that very nice white livery. Just look to turn in maybe a little bit too early. Going to have a little bit of an inside lockup there. Slides a little bit down through turn 4 at the bottom of the hill. Of course, very difficult to keep track of some of these laps. So Etzo coming to the line again, maybe looking to take a second push at things. Of course, with how quick the laps are here at Austria, as well as with how easy it is to potentially just go a little bit too far over the line and invalidate, you might see drivers putting a little bit more fuel in the car on these opening laps. May also see some double out laps to try and get things set, as Sparko goes a bit too far over the line. Would have been a 104.3 anyways. But still, goes that little bit too wide. And will lose that lap. MacD now, coming through the final couple of corners. He'll get the power down quite nicely there. MacD to the line, and he'll jump up to second. He'll unseat Nemi. So, meanwhile, jumps up into 7th, trailing behind him. Got one of the Saubers coming to the line as well through the final corner. That's Mudev, only for a 104.4. Does put him ahead of Spinala King, though, into a preliminary top 10. Zrosky reporting that he is not comfortable in his car, whether that's due to setup or just, not getting a ton of practice in. Of course, practice may be a little bit diminished due to people being out of town for various holidays, just traveling back. For other people, maybe getting a little bit ill. But Lurka blasting his way around, 15.6 through the first sector. Really flicks that car in hard. Once he gets down to turn 3, maybe, seemed to be a little bit sluggish getting on the power, but gets underway. Meanwhile, Illyrian with a 104 flat puts his first time on the board. Anthrax Robin also underway, so seemingly getting that technical issue fixed. Lurka working his way through Sector 2 now. Does have a Ferrari and a Sauber a little bit further down the road, but it's a 44.1 for the Williams, who we've seen carry so much pace around many circuits so far this season. 2 corners left to go. Got to keep it within track limits, importantly, and he doesn't! Through turn 10, Lurka runs that little bit wide. Would have been a 103.470, so would have been right up there with Fight Me Now bot's first effort. But it's another invalidation for Lurka. I believe that's the second one in as many laps. Anthrax Robin now working through the final couple of corners. He'll power to the line, 104.309, so enough to put himself into 9th ahead of Zrosky and his first effort. So solid lap time there. Mango now, we'll keep an eye on as he gets underway. I think shaking off some of the rust himself, as I know Mango reporting himself that he is under the weather. I think you can see some of that uncomfortability, some of that cold, some of that rust, and cold, and certainly more potential ways than one. He'll actually back out of this lap to let the Williams, and there's also a McLaren blasting their way through, as Mango will go ahead and tuck in behind them, looking to double outlap this maybe, now that the tire's in a slightly better scenario, picking up a little bit of a tow as well. And so we'll see if he can improve any more. Lurka diving in the pits. You got a whole bunch of cars making their way out. Good bit of traffic as well. Meanwhile, Nemi has slotted into 3rd. He's in a very nice position. Etzo currently sitting in 5th, going to pick up a little bit of a toe off of Fight Me Now bot ahead, potentially trying to latch on to the provisional pole sitter, slides his way through the opening corner. So we'll have to see, where does Fight Me Now bot clock in compared to his first lap time? He's down about a 10th on that first go of things. Etzo as well made a bit of a mistake at the opening corner in tandem. He's down 1.6 and has an invalidated lap. Fight Me Now bot has also backed out of that lap. So no improvements there from P1 or P5. We'll jump to Mango, who looks like he's going to be diving into the pits here. Again, just, I think trying to find some sort of comfort there with the car, and he's just going to slam it into the pits. Again, hopefully he is okay. Sparko getting underway. 104.3 is his benchmark that'll be working against. We'll see if he can improve at all from that. Zdrowski making his way around. He'll take off again after a 102 or 120.3 invalidated time. So we'll see if he can make any improvements on that. Vanzantino through one sector up a 10.5, but lost a lot in that second sector. So he's backed off. Soa about matching his time through the first sector. The Haas currently in P7, heading now down the hill after reaching the top of the circuit to turn number 4. Meanwhile, Tristan still up there in 4th. Going to be interesting to see if he can take some of these qualifying performances and turn them good. He had a very strong qualifying performance in Saudi Arabia in Group 1 as well. Soa up about a 10.5 now, as he looks to put the fight to potentially Nemi and even MacT for the front row of the grid. Of course, still a lot of time left to go in qualifying for stuff to happen, but through the final corner, Soa goes. Big slide there. Nemi goes to the top with a 103.2. Soa to the line, 103.701. He'll pick up a quarter of a second and jump all the way up to the second row of the grid. Very nice lap time there from the Haas driver, as he looks to jump up the grid. MacT, meanwhile, has got about 10.5 in hand as Fight Me Now bot with a new fastest time of the session. That's a 103.125. So MacT heading through the final corner. Can he improve? And if so, by how much? 103.456. It is an improvement, but it's not by enough to pick up any places. So with 6 minutes 30 seconds, he will still start from P3 on the grid as it stands. BXT, meanwhile, slotted into P7, making his way back around the grid. Zdrowski complaining about Zdrowski saying that he cannot drive. So a couple of drivers potentially struggling away a little bit. Spinala King down a little bit. A bit of a lockup there, potentially. Anthrax Robin pushing through the middle sector in that Alpine car. He's up about 4/10. So Anthrax Robin on a very nice lap as it stands. Can he pick up any time now through these final couple of corners? Not really heavy braking zones. Maybe a little bit of engine braking through 10, 11. Really want to swing it in, utilize all that track on the exit. Gets the power down pretty comfortably, and Anthrax Robin going to jump up to P9, joins the rest of the drivers in the 103s. We'll see if he can go any further. Lurka, meanwhile, as I was talking, got up to P4. So Lurka, nice up there. Tristan follows, makes it a Williams 4 and 5. So Williams having a very nice showing. Illyrian and Mudev on laps. Illyrian's invalidated. Mudev coming through the final corner on a bit of a slow lap. We'll see if he goes again, what the improvement is. Mango now pushing away a little bit up through Sector 1 as we kind of cut to him. He seemed to be a little bit out of shape. He seems to be, as Mango seemingly really jumpy in this one. He's not the only driver that's really jumpy. Certainly hope that internet won't be playing a factor in this race. I'm going to go ahead and close a couple of things here. Of course, hasn't been an issue so far, but Mango now coming through the final couple of corners, and he's backed off again. So Mango seemingly struggling quite a bit to get the balance that he desires. Groon Jamie now, one of only 2 drivers without a lap on the board, the other being Kendricks. Making his way through turn 4 is Jamie. Of course, no Delta will show up as of yet. So we won't know exactly how Gwoon Jamie lines up, but it's a 44-8 through 2 sectors for the another Group 2 reserving up. So certainly will be interesting to watch him as he blasts down through the penultimate corner and the final corner. Again, really utilizing all that track, getting all the way out to the edges of track limits, and it's a 104.2 for Jamie. So still a very respectable lap time, but it'll only get him 13th fastest for the moment. Zrusky to the line. He'll improve by a little bit, but it's not by enough to get up ahead of Gwoon Jamie. It's a 104.232 for the McLaren. So his pace not really improving. We'll jump to Crazy Riatudo's Haas as he's on a bit of a cooldown lap as well with that first go of things. Mango now to the line. Again, just Mango not finding any sort of pace as of right now. Just, I think, trying to get some sort of laps on the board. I know Mango was complaining about FFB kind of cutting out a little bit in the middle of the corner. But up nicely through Sector 1. Pretty big lockup there through turn 3, but on the power much more nicely this time. Much more smoothly, as under 3 minutes left to go in the session. So drivers going to be starting to make their ways out, trying to give themselves a little bit more breathing room. You got, of course, got an Aston Martin diving out of the way of Mango on that inside. So I believe that is MacT looking to prep some of his final laps, and Mango just not finding a lot of pace. And as you can see, that car just really not responding. And yeah, he's going to dive into the pits once again here. As, Mango just really struggling, and I think, clearly unhappy with some of the balance there. It's only a 108.6 for Mango. It's not really sure what's going on there. MacT, though, getting underway with what could have been one of his final laps, but seemingly he has backed off, looking to try and potentially double prep lap those soft compound tires. Just trying to slot into a comfortable window, and importantly make sure that the temp is in the right spot. So he'll prep again. Nemi out. It's Fight Me Now bot actually right behind MacT for the moment. Similarly, the Williams of Lurka and Tristan both out on the lap, but Soa pushing away. He's on what is a push lap for him. He's about matched that time through the first sector. So we'll stay on board with the Haas, currently sitting P6. Of course, he's got to pick up a lot of time here to potentially go further up the grid. Meanwhile, a lot of traffic back at turn number 3 as cars piling out of the pits. Only a minute and 5 seconds left to go. So basically anybody starting a lap now will not have an opportunity to go at it again. So I believe that, so one of the Saubers, I don't know if that's Illyrian or Mudev, who just started their lap. They'll probably be one of the first to cross the line, but Soa backing off here. He'll have another shot. Mango, the only driver in the pits for the moment. As Zrusky going to retire from the session, I believe he made a mistake up at turn number 4, so he will not start any better than P14. Find Me Now bot, though, provisional pole sitter, heading up to turn number 2 for the final time. And again, it's a decent, effectively just turn 1 for the Ferrari man. As Zrusky saying he raged, Mango as well will retire from the session. Find Me Now bot now, heading down to turn number 4. And Fight Me Now bot's backed off. Fight Me Now bot is backed off of this lap. So Fight Me Now bot not improving. We'll jump to Nemi behind him, who's in second. That's Sparko and Illyrian, who will also retire from the session. Mudev crosses the line. He'll go 13th fastest. That's the first final time so far. When the Williams come to the line, that's Tristan, who will jump up into the second row. He'll leapfrog his teammate up into 4th. MacT will not improve by enough to improve his position. He's still in 3rd. We know Fight Me Now bot, I believe, is backed off a bit further up the road. Where is Nemi at as he comes to the line? Is it enough? It is not. He will start 2nd for the moment. So it's now Lurka who will only leapfrog his teammate. He'll jump up into 4th. Etzo on a bit of a cooldown lap. He's not improving. BXT was up on his time through Sector 1. He's lost about a 10th through Sector 2. Gwoon Jamie, 8th quickest. Soa across the line. He will start no better than 6th. Just 2 drivers really to cross the line. You got Kendricks as well. Kendricks to the line. He invalidated his lap. BXT around the final corner. He'll lose that lap time, so he'll not improve from 10th. Spinala King will do the same. And so it will be Fight Me Now Bot at the front of the field here in Austria. And so it will be Ferrari on pole. And we'll see exactly what happens here. As Tristan, I think, calling himself a quality merchant. Certainly having a very good session. Yeah, certainly going to be interesting to see. But it's Fight Me Now Bot continuing to go on an absolute tear in the back half of this season. Of course, led last time out in Saudi Arabia until the final corner when you got pipped by B-Tom. But this time he pips Nemi to pole by a 1/10 of a second. We might, Tristan, you just got to figure out that race consistency. Zroski as well, saying his race pace is better. I mean, I talk crap to both of you about your race pace in Saudi Arabia, but mine wasn't great either. In Group 2, which you can keep an eye out for tomorrow. Should be hopefully another interesting race, but of course we'll have a brief pause on the grid. Of course, if any drivers are listening, please do be ready. I'm going to bring it down to 90 seconds, this go. There's no walls for you to hit? No, I think there's... you misunderstand, Zroski. There is a wall. It's on the pit lane exit. So, watch out for that one. But, you know, probably going to be a pretty simple medium to hard on this race. We'll see exactly what goes down. Yeah, Zroski, I mentioned that because I've hit it. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's the wall, because there's the one, it's more on actual pit exit when you're making your way out. This race is a 2-stop? I don't know. I actually have not checked my strategy cheat sheet. I imagine you can make a 1-stop work, and then it's probably a little bit faster. But of course, we'll have to wait and see. I think it'll depend really on setups. Of course, temps are going to be a little bit higher since we are set to clear and dry, as that was the weather setting from that first session. So made sure to copy that. We'll have to see exactly how some of this goes down. Someone readied up early? Okay, thank you for letting me know. So yeah, everybody in chat, get ready. We did have a minute, but of course, good luck to everybody. It was Sparko, okay. But 19 drivers on the grid, 36 laps incoming here in the mountains of Styria. We have 5 lights, and we're underway here in Austria. Everybody seemingly getting away well. Most importantly, Nemi down the inside. He'll power down the inside into turn 1 and take an easy lead. I think largely due to that visual tire advantage. You can see yellow flags behind. Gawoon Jamie gets caught up. Fight Me Now Bot already, though, looking to take the fight back to Nemi. And there's contact as we go full course yellow here. I think Illyrian got caught up. I believe we're going virtual safety car for a moment. Yes, we are under virtual safety car, so Nemi will retain the lead as we get underway here. After making that jump off the start, so we'll go ahead and throw up the tire graphics, that way you can properly see that. We got chaos behind. Mango's, I think, accidentally jumped a bunch of people. Yeah, there's a bit of chaos further back as people trying to get the VSC order set. Mango going to get a penalty here for ignoring yellow flags. I'm not fully sure what happened, but it's effectively just going to be a rolling restart here for lap number 2. After, again, I believe it was Illyrian who got caught up in an incident there. Again, still under virtual safety car conditions, and now we're back to racing, and it's going to be great timing for Fight Me Now Bot, as Nemi having to really abide by that safety car, by that VSC Delta. You got Zroski diving in the pits. I think he may have picked up damage from Mango ahead. Illyrian going to dive into the pits as well. Zroski opting for the hard compound tire And yeah, I believe making that change. Here comes Fight Me Now Bot, power into the inside of Nemi down there at turn number 3. There is contact. That's going to hurt Nemi the most. Mac T now going to go powering down the inside. Of course, he's going to have DRS. Fight Me Now Bot doesn't. It's Mac T who leads number 2 as we head into turn 4. Fight Me Now Bot looking around the outside. Not going to quite be able to make a move, though. He'll have to hold back for now. So Mac T now retakes the lead on lap, takes the lead on lap number 2. After some chaos there at the restart. Of course, I think you're going to see a good chunk of contact up there just with how tight the racing circuit gets as you get up over turn number 3 and try to get on the power, especially just with how slow you get. It's not too dissimilar from the opening chicane at Monza. Spinella King will be the fast lap for the moment. Mango gets past Sparko as lap 3 here. DRS now for Fight Me Now, but once again on the charge. He'll go to the inside once again into turn number 2. Bit of a lockup there as you got Nemi looking to the inside of the Aston Martin as well, but not quite able to get the move done. Now, Mac T can have an opportunity to fight back on Fight Me Now Bot. He'll go to the inside here as we jump on board. He's going to have to keep it nice and tight to the exit. Can he utilize the extra grip on those medium compound tires? It's going to be side by side on the exit between the Ferrari and the Aston Martin. Bit of wheel banging there, but it's going to be Fight Me Now Bot who pulls ahead by the time they get down into turn number 5. And so finally the man who started on pole will take the lead of this race. And I think importantly is doing it on that hard compound of tires in the clean air. But of course DRS is still going to remain a factor in this one as we start lap number 4. Of course it's going to be basically action lap after lap after lap here. As Mango closing in on BXT into turn number 1, Jamie picks up a 3-second for track limits, and Mango has found seemingly a little bit of momentum, but goes a bit deep there. Still looking to take advantage. You got also got Anthrax, Robin, and Tristan potentially going to war. A bit further down the order, Robin going to try to get Tristan to the inside. There goes the Alpine, and he'll get that move set and done. And so there goes Anthrax Robin up into 7th place with a very nice move. Again, I definitely expect a lot of the moves that we're going to see today as Mac T and Nemi getting really close. As we get to the end of Sector 2 there. Just going to allow Fight Me Now Bot to really start to open up that gap a little bit. Nemi goes round. I think he got a little bit too far tucked up under that rear wing of Mac T. Got a little bit too much up on the curb as well, and that'll send Nemi round. He's lucky to hold on to that car and hold on to better than 6th, hold on to nothing worse than 6th place. We'll have to slot in behind Etzo, potentially try to keep those tires in a much better window than he has been, especially with that big slide. Meanwhile, Lurka looking to make the move on Mac T, and he'll get that done rather comfortably, as Mac T, of course, losing DRS on the car ahead. So it's going to be Lurka's job to go chasing after some extra points. BXT now putting the pressure all over Lurka as well. Looks like they're going to be side by side a bit further down the order. We'll jump on board, see if we can find that battle. You can see BXT trying to get the run there on the exit, trying to hang it around the outside here. Not quite anything opening up, though. He'll try to switch it back, cut up the inside. Not quite, and he's going to try to get past the Williams rather quickly. Or he risks falling off of the battle with the cars ahead. He's also got Mango right on his tail to try and account for. Sparko, meanwhile, receives 3 seconds due to track limits. So Jamie certainly not the only one. Of course, Fight Me Now Bot with an opportunity to start to inch away from the field as those hards going to get stronger and stronger as the stint carries on. I think we may have seen, of course, the undercut certainly going to be a bit of a factor. I think it'll really depend, though, on how tight some of the rest of the field is. I think Mac T content right now to just settle in behind the Williams. You got Etzo looking to jump out of the toe a little bit, trying to break a little bit out of the dirty air. As Spinella King getting past Sparko there under DRS. The two white machines, but different Red Bull teams going at it. Is Spinalla now trying to chase after points? And of course, the hard tires on his car gonna continue to get better throughout the stint. I think you can see Sparko behind starting to struggle a little bit. Vanzantino starting to threaten to get past, but he's also got to defend from Crazy Riatudo. Lurka now really falling off the back of Fight Me Now. He seems to be just way more comfortable in carrying DRS. Kendrick's going to dive into the pits here already. Of course, starting on the soft compound tire. We've seen soft to hard from Kendrick's work a lot. He's going to go to the mediums here. So we could be seeing a rainbow tire allocation as Sparko with I think maybe a bit of a mistake there under braking. As Sparko jumped way down the order there. I think he got passed by both Vanzantino and Riatudo. But he's dropped well down the order. So let's see what happens there. Again, MacT, I think, this kind of lead pack here. All just kind of content to really just stick with each other. Try and fall into that rhythm. Especially with how much, you really got to be hitting your marks around this circuit. That pit stop phase could become very, very important. So, though, starting to close in a little bit on MacT, though potentially getting a little bit too close. You can see a bit of a wiggle there out of the final corner. Of course, being through 8 laps now, can take a look at some of the position changes. Of course, Lurka up 2 spots. He's doing very nicely. Soa and Etso also up 2 spots. As Gwoon Jamie 10 seconds for speeding the pits. He's going to retire after picking up that penalty. As Etso right on the back of Soa there, basically pushing him through turn number 3. Mango is racing pretty solidly. He's up 8 spots. As there's the Aston Martin of MacT looking to get that move done on Lurka, and he will. So through that backside DRS zone, it's MacT able to get the move done, as Lurka potentially using a ton of resources there, trying to keep with the car in front. Sparko, meanwhile, has gone off. He potentially got connected there with Mudev. But now it's MacT leading the chase for B-Tom. And I think you're seeing Lurka having to... That he may have just... Actually, no, I think he just was trying to recover some ERS there. And that's what led him to being a little bit vulnerable. Again, you got Etso. You can see the McLaren of Etso just popping out a little bit before getting up to the cars in front. First blasting up the hill. Lap number 9 now. Lurka continuing to open the door, but having to go a little bit defensive here on the Haas behind him. As now it's Soa starting to threaten. No significant damage on the Williams. And of course with DRS, it's going to be a little bit easier to defend. Of course, you're Lurka. I don't think you want to be sitting in the dirty air for too long and be at risk of falling further down the order. But it's really second down to 11th. All super tight right now. There's got a couple of drivers pitting early, and then a couple of drivers getting connected as well. Got a couple of drivers tightly packed as well. I believe it was Sparko and Mudev diving in. That's MacT diving into the pits. MacT into the pits here on lap number 10. So MacT making an early stop. What's going to be the tire choice for the Aston Martin here on lap number 10? Mango is going to pick up a 10-second for speeding in the pits. So bad to worse for Mango, as he's already has to serve a 10-second time penalty. It's hard for both MacT and for BXT. So early stops here on lap number 10. So they certainly could be thinking 2-stop here. Again, the way this race is going to pan out will certainly be a surprise to me. But MacT going to come out with a nice bit of dirty air. BXT also going to beat his teammate Kendricks out of the pits. Meanwhile, Vanzantino and Mango would have to work their way back through those drivers, as Mango really hustling that car out. Of course, he's got another 10-second time penalty to serve yet in this race. So MacT gets the move done and then dives into the pits early. Lurka will follow into the pits this lap. So Lurka not wanting to get undercut by MacT. Nemi will follow him in. Williams get it stopped. Nemi does not get it stopped. Neither does Anthrax Robin. So 10-second time penalties for the Red Bull and the Alpine. So that might go to show that those medium tires wear out incredibly quickly. And so it's going to be hard slapped on all of those drivers, or they're going to have to make another stop. It's going to be a lot to manage here as they look to get back underway. Meanwhile, Etzo and Soa remaining out on track to battle that little bit longer. It's going to be DRS for the McLaren, no DRS for the Haas. And so it'll be Etzo getting by rather comfortably on those hard compound tires. Tristan, meanwhile, continues to stay out. Spinala King has continued to stay out. Crazy Riatudo has continued to stay out. Of course, this race is showing me that I better get some practice in before tomorrow. Zdrowski and Sparko, meanwhile, making their way past Mango. Mango's getting picked off by three drivers there as Mudev finds his way through. Got Soa now diving in the pits here on lap number 12. Of course, we've seen a couple of drivers make the mistake of speeding in the pits. Soa will not be the next. Of course, Mac T now making his way through the final couple of corners as this pack starts to spread out. Yellow flags. That is for Zdrowski and Sparko who came together. Keeping it out of the wall, though. So Mac T continues to now lead this chase pack. Again, he's got a comfortable little buffer back to Lurka. Anthrax Robin meanwhile picks up another 3-second time penalty due to track limits. Nemi finds his way comfortably past BXT before the braking zone of turn number 3. And of course, he'll drop the hammer and try to pull off into the distance, go chasing after Lurka himself. Soa, meanwhile, on those fresh tires, finds his way past Anthrax Robin in the braking zone. So potentially a bit of a mistake there from the Alpine in allowing the driver in front to make his way through. Apologies for the yawn. Imagine we should be seeing Tristan here in the next couple of laps time in the pits. No, Tristan's staying out. So Tristan trying to stretch these mediums out as long as he can. Still in third and still putting together some respectable pace. It'll be Riatudo into the pits next. He'll get in there a little bit conservatively, but certainly can't blame him with the amount of 10-second time penalties. Meanwhile, it's Nemi setting the new fast lap of the race, 106.0. It's mediums being slapped on to Crazy Riatudo's car. So Crazy Riatudo goes medium here. So Riatudo certainly thinking two-stop. Sticking with those mediums. So how long will he take this second stint now? And what tire will he switch to at the end? I think is going to be the interesting thing to keep an eye on. Illyrian, 3 seconds due to track limits. Going to be interesting to watch. Tristan now, I think, starting to lose a lot of time here as Fight Me and Albot dives into the pits. So lap 13, Fight Me and Albot dives in the pits to swap off the hard. So we will have a lead change. Tristan, meanwhile, continues to stay out. And it's mediums on Fight Me and Albot's car. So where will he come out now in relation to Mac T? Is he potentially concerned? Thomas D reporting the tire wear is absolute shit. Don't worry, you can say the big boy words. You don't have to censor yourself here. But Fight Me Outbot going to make his way out. Has he managed to dodge the undercut from Mac T? He has, at least for the moment. Things going to be interesting to keep an eye on, though. Can he break that gap as those mediums get up to temperature? And we saw how much stronger those hards were on that first stint. And again, I have no point of reference so far. The tire wear is shit, and I think that's very big props to Tristan for legging it out there for 13 laps on the mediums. But you can see the Williams potentially starting to dance around a little bit. You can see that that rear wiggling ever so slightly. But continues to put lap after lap on that tire. Is he potentially holding out for a safety car as both hard tire runners pit? So that's Etzo and Spinala into the pit. So Tristan now leads on the set of mediums that he started this race on. It's 4 seconds behind him to Fight Me Now Bot. As he continues to truck away, you can see how that lap time is really bleeding away. We'll see in a second here just how much that comes up. Look at how much that drops as Fight Me Now makes his way through the braking zone, down about 7/10 as Lurka finds his way past Mac T. Nemi looking to do the same, but I think got caught up as Mac T, was a bit slowed. As he was battling Lurka, that didn't allow Mac T through, or that didn't allow Nemi through. And so Lurka now back up into third. Tristan, meanwhile, staying out there in the lead. You got the effective leader, Fight Me Now bot, now really dropping that hammer, trying to get out in front. Is this going to be the lap Tristan dives into the pits? Now he will. So Tristan will finally dive into the pits here on lap number 15. Does get it slowed down just about for lap 16. So Tristan looking to go medium hard here. So Tristan going to be certainly an interesting driver to watch as he makes his way into his final stint. Will slap on that hard compound tire. And I imagine should have a nice bit of clean air out in front of him as well. And could that be a potential opportunity for him here? As he's not far off the rear wing of Vanzantino. So how much does he really want to throw at this track? Nemi and Mac T, meanwhile, about to go to war once again as they head down into turn 4. Nemi tries to look to the inside, tries to go back to the outside, but it's great car placement there from Mac T on the entry. Is it going to matter, though, as they get to the exit? Illyrian, meanwhile, is round a little bit up the road. So Illyrian with a bit of a mistake there. You got a little bit of battling there into turn 4 between Kendricks, Mango, and Ria Tudo, as Mango, I think, starting to struggle with the rear of the car a little bit. Meanwhile, Mac T continuing to hold on to Nemi behind. Of course, got a couple of drivers not too far off the pack either. You got Soa now latching on to this, what is effectively, I think we can call the battle for second, since Fight Me Now bot's pace seems to be a little bit overwhelming at this stage. We'll have to see if that gap does come down at all as Mudev picks up a 3-second time penalty due to track limits. But BXT's not too far off. We'll see if he and Robin start to work together. Anthrax Robin, though, looking to power to the inside, and he'll get that move done. It's going to be BXT looking to get a potential switchback done. But it's Anthrax Robin up into position number 6. And the two Mercedes-powered cars going to be, again, just trying to chase after that battle for P2. That's going to continue to heat up, I imagine, over the rest of this race. Not only because Tristan, who's just making the move there for P10 past Vanzantino to get himself some extra clean air to work with. Could throw an interesting wrench into it as well. I think with some of the pace that Fight Me Now bot has been shown, don't know if that one stop is going to put him in contention for the win. There's a yellow flag in Sector 3. That's for Illyrian just diving out of the way, if I'm not mistaken. As, yeah, that is just Illyrian staying out of the way, respecting blue flags there. So Illyrian's day effectively done. As Roski's made a bit of a mistake there. So potential contact between the McLaren and the Red Bull, certainly not good. Kendricks and Mango, meanwhile, diving into the pits. Mango this time will get it stopped. Of course, it's another 10 seconds for Mango to serve. Of course, I think with Mango, it's a valiant effort, especially with him describing just how sick he was coming into this race. He was really only able to make it due to that significant delay that we had. But about the halfway point now, and it's Fight Me Now bot once again dominating this race rather comfortably. But still, lots of laps left to go. Certainly not lots of time, however. As the lap's very short here. Only about, 68 to 70 seconds most of the time. As there's Illyrian, the yellow flag once again for Illyrian jumping out of the way. But Lurk continues to kind of pull this train along here. Big wiggle, though, from the Williams. Somehow manages to hold on to that, as I think he got up a little bit on those sausage curbs on the outside. As Illyrian, 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pits, and he will be our second retirement of this race. You got Nemi now looking to steam around the outside of Mac T, not able to get it done, though. Is that going to open up the door for Soa, then, to eventually go around the outside? You can see him jink to the outside there as we ran down to turn 4. Now looking to the inside, looking to get it done under braking. And it's now the two white machines going at it. Who's going to come out in front by the time we get down to turn number 6. They're still side by side, but right behind MacT, but it's going to be the driver with the inside. It's Nemi able to push that little bit of an extra advantage and jump back in front of the man he is battling for P4 with. Of course, Nemi does have that time penalty to contend with. That will be important to keep in mind as we get down to the wire here. But I think importantly for some of these drivers, it's just trying to keep it in front of the car ahead. Give yourself the best opportunity that you can. Zrusky as well dove into pits on that most recent lap. Again, I think a couple drivers here just trying to keep the laps going, trying to give themselves the best opportunity to try and come away with anything in this race, doing everything they can to stay on the lead lap. But Fight Me Now continuing to open up that lead very comfortably, up to 9.5 seconds now, as he just continues to pull away. Etzo, meanwhile, joining this fight between Robin and BXT. Picking up a little bit of gravel there, if you could hear it. Mango picking up a fastest lap, though, for the moment. But Etzo is on a bit of a newer tire. Is Zrusky going to retire from the session in the pit lane, as he was about to go a lap down? So that'll be the race over for a third driver. Will be yellow flags. Will that put off Etzo? That's going to put off Etzo from going into a move there in turn 1. Of course, those yellow flags will be should be cleared by the time we get back to the top of the circuit, and it looks like they will. Bit of a big battle continuing to go on here for P2 as we inch closer and closer to what I imagine is going to be that final stop point. Tristan, meanwhile, continuing to close in on Spinala King. He's going to have to really nurse those hard tires over the rest of this race if he wants to bring them home. I also imagine that of the leaders, it's really only Etzo who might have an opportunity to take the hard compound tires home. Of course, I haven't gotten a look at tire wear graphics yet while in this spectator mode. So that'll be something to keep an eye out for. Anthrax Robin, another 3-second time penalty due to track limits. I think, with the race being a little bit slow right now, can definitely take a look at some of those penalties. Nemi, of course, 10 seconds for speeding. Same for Anthrax Robin. They will both have to serve those if they don't make another stop this race. Then it's 6 additional seconds for Anthrax Robin, and then 3 for Spinala King. So Tristan's certainly going to be looking to get through, make sure he's not held up by somebody who his race really isn't going to be with. Vanzantino as well. Certainly in the question to try and pick up some extra points, especially with those 2 10-second time penalties being factors. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on. Sparko, meanwhile, picks up a 10-second of his own for speeding in the pits as he looks to make his final stop of the day. Mudev, meanwhile, will be released as he makes his final stop. But of course, not the day Sparko would want, not the day Mango would have wanted either. As he is now been overtaken by his teammate. I cannot English. Everybody in that battle for P2 continues to stay out another lap, though. Etzo was able to dispatch of Anthrax Robin. And now, potentially, with an opportunity to pull away, Tristan also dispatching a battle of his own, but with the V-carb of Spinala King, so he's now got a nice bit of clear air to work with ahead of him. Ugh. Excuse me. Can definitely feel this. So, the energy's starting to lapse a little bit. But again, bunch of battles, super tight here on track. Definitely getting some auctioneer practice in here. But it continues to be Lurker just kind of leading this pack, and I think, especially as we get closer to that potential final pit stop stage, I think a number of drivers are content to try and fall into a rhythm here. I think Lurker potentially trying to feint as full safety car here. What brought that out? As the full safety car is out, Why is there a full safety car? Well, I'm not sure what brought it out, but we will be seeing the full safety car, so the pack will be fully tightened up. Everybody going to get a free stop here. Because I think Fight Me Now Bot also... Yeah, that was Fight Me Now Bot giving a lap back. As actually, I think it was Sparko. I think Sparko had an incident there. So did Sparko go into the back of Mango or something similar? Because it's the Red Bull with no front wing that I believe must have caused that safety car. And if the safety car is bad news for anybody, it's bad for Tristan the most. As he's basically, as his race strategy has basically been nuked. As everybody looking to make a potential two-stop work will dive to the pits here. And Mango's diving into the pits. Mango's pitting now. Sparko will stay out just to make sure that he gets that lap. But Fight Me Now Bot's going to get messed up. Sparko is retired. So I'm not sure fully what happened here. It'll be definitely interesting, though, to see who leads. I think Fight Me Now Bot will certainly have enough of a lead where that double stack is not a factor, and truly it is not. Tristan, though, has opted to stay out. And so could Tristan beat the Ferrari out the pits? It's going to be tight, but I don't imagine he will. He's going to hustle, but he will not overtake Fight Me Now Bot. So Fight Me Now Bot will retain the lead. Tristan, I think, the lone driver for the moment to stay out. Mango will slap Kendricks, Mudev gonna, I think, Mango and Kendricks, I believe, slapping on old sets of hard compound tires. And of course, Mango trying to catch the field here will more than likely extend the safety car period. I guess what this does as well, it allows everybody with that 10-second time penalty to serve it and really lose track position, as opposed to actual time. So that'll certainly be something there. But safety car period now. Tristan's going to be a really interesting wrench in here. Mac T, meanwhile, jumped Lurka there. Jumped Lurka. So Mac T's out in front. As I completely missed that in that pit stop exchange. So that's certainly of note, is that the Aston Martin of Mac T now will lead the chase pack. But the safety car period goes goes just about perfectly for Fight Me Now Bot, as now he has a buffer behind him to allow him to pull away, and it's equal tires from here to the end. Of course, the kind of tire discrepancy between 1 and 2 here will be down to who decided to box and who didn't. Of course, we'll see maybe see a little bit of positional shuffling as everybody tries to catch the pack. Kendrick's going to put on some fresh tires as well. I think Mango on the softs trying to put up some sort of fastest lap effort, even if that fast lap comes under the safety car. But yeah, ultimately, I'm not sure what happened. It may have just been Sparko and Mango coming together there. And it may have been the front wing on track. That was what, indeed, brought out the safety car. So certainly interesting to keep in mind there. Still no safety car in message, so I believe we'll have one more lap. And that'll mean it'll be, I believe, 9 laps of racing once we get back underway. As it is 2 drivers, Mango and Kendricks, that we're waiting on. Of course, Kendricks, Mango, apologies, trying to make that lap back. And it will, in fact, be one more lap before we go back racing. So it gives a quick opportunity to take a look at some of the position changes in this race. Obviously, Tristan up 3 spots, but definitely a little bit out of position on tires. So that's, I think, a little bit skewed Among some other drivers, BXT up 3 spots. He's on for a very nice race. Nemi down 6 spots, but I think a large part of that is due to having to serve a 10-second pit lane speeding penalty on his first stop. Other than that, everybody really up a couple of places. I think it'll definitely be interesting to see who the driver of the day for this race could be. As of right now, potentially, I don't know who my driver of the day for this race would be right now. I mean, Fight Me Now Bot, I think, is an obvious one, as he's been very dominant. But from the rest of the field, I think, of course, we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens with the field now bunched back up, ready to restart, as the safety car is officially in this lap. So we'll go back to that tire graphic. But it's going to be Fight Me Now Bot slowing the field right down. Trying to keep it to about 50 miles an hour. Trying to let that safety car, I believe, Aston Martin safety car, pull out a little bit ahead of him, as Mango has recaught the pack. So Fight Me Now Bot now trying to keep that pace a little bit hot. This Fight Me Now Bot as well has managed to get his fuel back in order, so that safety car was exactly what he needed. Keeping the field very slow, though, and now he'll take off. So we are getting back underway here, as Mango somehow accidentally jumped Kendricks there. Not sure exactly how he did that. We are back underway as Fight Me Now Bot struggling, doing what he can to get those tires up to temperature. Actually, I think it may have been a Kendricks mistake that allowed Mango back through. But Tristan, you can already see, losing a ton of time to Fight Me Now Bot ahead. Of course, no DRS this lap. That doesn't matter for MacT. He wants to get past. He wants to go potentially fight for the win. But Tristan going defensive there into turn number 3. Doesn't get the best exit, though. That's going to open the door for the Aston Martin to set up that inside move into turn 4. Tristan dumping loads of battery to try and stay in front, though. MacT switching to the inside late. Can he get that move done? He's got a Williams behind him of Lurka trying to get that move done on the exit. It is going to be MacT through. Lurka's going to try to follow him through and get round his teammate, as the Williams is going to go side by side. 3 wide there briefly. Through turn number 5. It's a wonder there wasn't an incident, but Tristan already dropping down the order. Soa passed him, Etzo passed him, BXT Burnett trying to get the move done, but that's allowed Fight Me Now Bot to open up a mammoth 3-second gap here on the opening lap after the safety car. DRS now enabled. And it's going to be MacT leading the chase back, but again, Lurka close behind. You got Tristan just holding on to P6 here. But I'd imagine you're going to see him continue to drop down the order here. As you can see, cars stacking up behind him. MacT, though, continuing to helm this lead pack. You got Etzo and Soa battling away. You got BXT trying to get that done on Tristan to the inside. BXT, though, picks up a 3-second time penalty, as I believe he may have felt he had to go off track to dodge the Williams. But now it's going to be a smooth. Oh, that's a move in the braking zone, and it's going to be, yeah, that's a bad move there from Tristan. And so that's the Williams and the Mercedes out. No safety car, though, so we'll continue racing. But that was a terrible move by the Williams under braking. And it leads to BXT being out of this race. So and Etzo, meanwhile, battling a little bit further behind, maybe at risk of falling off of that battle for second. Of course, they'll be doing everything they can to keep with the podium runners. Mango, meanwhile, I believe those softs just have fallen off a cliff here. As I believe Tristan will be the next to retire. We'll see if he goes for the fastest lap or not. But Fight Me Now Bot, 3.3 seconds is the gap behind. Yeah, I know you didn't mean to do that, but it's intent isn't important. Intent is important, but when reviewing, when looking at driving, lack of intent or intent, isn't necessarily too big a factor. It was just, you made a pretty clear move under braking there. Which, certainly agreed VXT. But 30 of 36 here. 6 laps left to go this time across the line. You got a car running wide there in the background. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's never an assumption that intent was the reason an incident occurred, if that makes any sense. Or, you know, when reviewing an incident, it's not like, okay, you know, the intent is what you did with your car, not necessarily the contact. Lurka closing here on MacT. Lurka, of course, does have that penalty he has to work with, which we'll have to keep an eye on. So and Etzo continue to battle, but Etzo under pressure from Nemi now. As I think it's Tristan and Mango trying to box that, the freshest tires for fastest lap, as it stands. Though Tristan's going to be under threat to potentially go on a lap down and seeing some blue flags. We'll see how that continues here. Lap 32 will now start. And again, it's just kind of control for MacT. It's definitely a bit of a late round slugfest here over second place. Just kind of been a lot of trading jabs, but when will the haymakers start to fly? It's going to be soon, because chances are running out. But when will the first one come? Of course, Mango and Tristan both basically out of this race, so it's still 12 drivers really in this fight, 4 points. But really only one for the win. It's been the man who's dominated since lap 1. In Fight Me Now bot. Certainly wouldn't be a grand slam this time like it was last time out at Jeddah before that final corner. But he's led incredibly comfortably for large portions of this race. Of course, the only time falling out of that lead was in the pit stop strategy phase. And of course, now it's DRS on the car ahead as well, and then it'll just continue to stretch that advantage. Lurka, though, continuing to close, getting within 3/10. Though Dirty Air going to cause him to have to back off a little bit through turn 1. DRS going to open as we head up to turn number 3. Through that little kink left to turn number 2. There's the move to the inside from Lurka. And he'll get that move done. Of course, he's going to be under pressure as we run back down the hill into turn number 4. And is MacT going to take advantage with that switchback? Did Lurka go a little bit too deep? Does MacT have enough? He does to keep the Williams behind. As some great work there from the Aston Martin, keeping Lurka at bay. As MacT looking to fight for a P2 here. And he's just going at it. Will be these cars. Of course, Soa, Etzo, Nemi, they're waiting in the background to try and take advantage should anything happen to some of these cars out in front of them. 3 laps to go now. Of course, we saw Lurka make the move to the inside. 1 lap ago. Will he try the same thing? Looks to be a little bit closer. Looks to be a little bit stronger this time. So will he be able to set it up nicely? He'll make the same move to the inside, but I think a little bit more comfortable this time under braking. And he'll still go to the inside, and it'll be MacT once again looking to put the switch back on, but it's a much better exit this time for Lurka. Can he potentially keep it side by side by the time they get down the hill to turn number 4? He can, but of course, MacT will have that inside. Will Lurka now try to look to put the same move on him? He will not. And so MacT doing a great job taking advantage of that opportunity. That's going to open the door for Soa now, trying to sweep around the outside. Down there at turn number, I believe that's 6 and 7. I don't remember the corner numbers. They come at you too fast. But now it's Lurka having to go on the defensive, and he'll keep Soa behind. 2 laps to go now. And they've been going at it for the past 2 laps. Will we see it again? As it's a bit further back this time for Lurka. Or is he going to bide his time and potentially wait for that final lap? Soa picks up a 3-second time penalty due to track limits. We'll go ahead and switch to that penalties graphic. So that's a big moment there for Lurka to pick up a couple extra points as Soa just picks up that 3rd warning. Up over the hill. Power down now as Vanzantino picks up another 3-second for track limits. Might put him out of the points, but he'll go after Anthrax Robin. Regardless, he'll pick up P8 on track. And that'll work to Crazy Riatudo's advantage. But about to be one lap left to go here. And of course, Tire Wear going to continue to start to get up there. We've seen the stints last only about 12 laps. And Etzo, of course, is on the mediums. I think just trying to hold on for that little bit longer, trying to pick up a podium position here. But of course, he's got the Red Bull of Nemi all over the back of his McLaren. But starting the final lap here, we see Macti and Lurka go after it go after it over numerous laps here. Coming down to the wire. DRS once again open for the Williams. Macti once again going to shut off that ERS. It's going to be Lurka looking to the inside this time. This time it's going to be side by side through turn number 3. And this time with Macti on the outside, he's not going to need the switchback. He's going to be able to power away. It is still Lurka, though, with DRS. Does he have enough to potentially get that move done? Macti going to go defensive. He'll hold on, just trying to keep the cars at bay. Of course, you get Etzo and Nemi battling away here for P5 as Etzo tries to just hold on. He kept within DRS, so that's enough for now. We'll just have to see if he can hold on to that by the time he gets to the line. But through the final corners, he's led every lap he realistically could. And it's going to be Fight Me Now Bot, where it's heartbreak in Saudi Arabia. It's victory here in Austria, and it's going to be the Ferrari on top. It's going to be Macti coming across the line to take second place. Etzo holds on to finish in third. Nemi then crosses the line in fourth. It's going to be Lurka and Soa then in fifth and sixth after those 3-second time penalties. Spinala King then will cross the line in seventh. Picks up a good chunk of positions there due to some of the time penalties out in front. Just edging out with Crazy Riatudo in eighth. Mudev will finish ninth. And then Kendricks will round out the points, picking up a reserve point in his effort for Mercedes in P10. But a nice job there. As Mango, I think, just trying to get a bit of a slow lap here. But that will do it. So Fight Me Now Bot taking another win. I think you certainly got to ask, is B-Tom really the only person who can stop him? Certainly going to be interesting to keep an eye on throughout the rest of the season. Of course, only 3 rounds left to go after this one. Of course, we head to Australia next week. So be sure to tune in for that. Australia, another very nice circuit. Should be very enjoyable to commentate in the race. But be sure to tune in for at least Group 2 tomorrow around this very same circuit, which should hopefully run a little bit more promptly, should run a little bit better on time. I'm pretty sure we'll make sure that is all set and ready to go. But of course, hopefully you've enjoyed. Congratulations to Fight Me Now Bot, Macti, and Etzo on their podiums. Of course, we'll take one more look at those final results. Driver of the day goes to Spinala King, as he also picked up the most overtakes there. Mango picking up fastest lap. Of course, there are your results. It's Fight Me Now Bot from pole, Macti, Etzo, Nemi, Lurka, Soa, Spinala King, Riatudo, Mudev, and Kendricks are your top 10. But hopefully you've enjoyed. Of course, I've been Vacant Haddock. And until next time, we will see you later. Oh, I guess as well, before we leave, if you are interested in potentially joining LSR for any of the final 3 rounds, definitely feel free to let us know in the comments section down below if you're watching this after the stream, and definitely would be interested in getting you in for a race in the future. But until either tomorrow or next weekend, we will see you next time. Have a good one.